Okay. Hi, you guys. It is Friday afternoon. I'm running a little late today. I had the pleasure of being invited to do a psychic salon last night for a wonderful group called The Circle. I've included information about them in my newsletter before. Um, they are on Mountain Time primarily, so it was a late night from it was about 9 to 11. So. And then I had to go to the dentist this morning. Here's Puppy. Back in my town before we moved. So it's been a day. So y'all bear with me. I am running on fumes today, but I have some questions, and I'm here. I've got a good attitude. It's Friday. Everybody's getting off for the holidays, so it's exciting. I need my coffee, but I don't have that. So y'all bear with me. Hang on here. Come on, Poppy. Poppy's gonna sit over here. Getting my water. Okay. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Thanks for joining. Come on, Poppy. Let's jump in. I'm gonna read the prayer. Come on. She loves this part. Can y'all see this sweet baby? Hi, sugar. I just got home, so she's super excited. Okay. All right. Let's read the prayer here, and take a second and let's see what shows up today. Okay. I ask God if He will have a shield of love and truth around you permanently, so only God's love and truth will exist between you and me. I allow the masters, teachers, and loved ones of you to channel through me out of whatever realm to say whatever they wish. I ask the permission of the Lords of the Akashic Records so I'm able to look into the records of you and remove whatever information I'm allowed. Okay, come on, Puppy. All right, let's see here. Takes a minute. Reset my nervous system driving through Atlanta traffic. It took an hour and a half to get home from the dentist today. So I'm going to pull up my questions. Y'all hang on. Let me see here. Okay. All right, so let's see. Well, the guides are saying the my day is par for the course today because there's a lot of big energy going on in the universe right now. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, the group that I was in last night. Three-eyed atlases close to the earth today. There's a lot happening. And one thing the guides want to stress is that they said slow down and be patient and let yourself receive. There's so much good energy that's coming into the planet today with all the different shifts and changes in the universe. And they're saying to just really slow down and let yourself receive. And kind of look at it as a kickoff to the holiday week. A lot of people are off. Today is their last day of work through next week. And they said, look at it as an invitation to slow down and be with the energies that are showing up around you. And so it's important to not get caught up in the spin of things. Now, that's easier said than done. If you're driving in Atlanta traffic, you're going to get caught up in the spin. I'm just going to say. It reminded me today of driving in LA. Ooh. Hang on here. Let me see. Well, they said this time is preparing us. Um, Not only for next week, but the culmination of this year, and we are looking at the end of a year that is on the horizon. We are looking at the beginning of a new year. In addition to the beginning of the new year, we are looking at the beginning of a 9-year cycle. So not only are things ending for us in 2025, at the end of the year, they're ending a cycle, a 9-year cycle. So there's a lot happening. And the guides are just inviting everybody to just slow down. If they gave any kind of guidance today, they said slow down, because there's a lot of recalibration happening. A lot of people are getting tune-ups, frequency downloads, ideas are coming, breakthroughs are happening, ahas kind of stuff. And then there's a real surrender that's happening too. And they said when you can slow down and be with this energy, it's much easier to let go and surrender. And there are things still to let go of. And you've got a couple weeks to really allow yourself to surrender anything you might still be holding on to that needs to go or needs to change in some fashion. They are saying they would ask you to take this time and do something that makes your inner child just really happy. And if that's kind of reaching back into your childhood, maybe a favorite Christmas movie or holiday movie you like, or favorite meal or favorite place to go, favorite story to read, they would ask you to think about that. What's the first thing that comes to mind to you? Like, what was a really wonderful memory you might have that just makes your inner child smile, that heart smile. Mm-hmm. Here. And they would say this because they want you to be fully present with your divine inner child. And they want you to acknowledge that part of yourself and recognize that you're going to go with this divine inner child into the new year. You're going to take this divine inner child's hand, you being the wise adult now, and in charge, taking this hand into the future to see what you create together. Because what they're saying is it's really important to know going into the next year that you be in touch with this part of yourself so that it can set the pace for what you want to create next year. For the cycle, a 9-year cycle is going to start. It's how do you want to go out of the gate with that? You don't have to go out kicking and screaming, but just go out maybe in a stroll holding your divine inner child's hand. I just love that. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining live. All right, here, let's see here. They're not going to get into all of the astrological stuff and the universe stuff right now, any more than anybody else has. Just know there's a lot going on, and the timing is perfect. It is part of the divine orchestration. There are a lot of upsets happening. There's a lot of transformation happening. They said anything changing in your life right now, to trust the auspiciousness of the timing of it, that it is on purpose and there's a plan to it. How cool is that? You know what? I got the Psychic Tarot deck today. Let me see. Let's just draw a card to start out the rest of our gathering today here. Okay. Oh, wow. I love this. I don't know if y'all know the Psychic Tarot, but it's by John Holland, and he designed his tarot kind of around the chakras. So this is the heart chakra. It is spiritual union. I mean, gosh, that could just be our gathering here, couldn't it? We're having a spiritual union. Could be that talk about you with your inner child, but it is about a one-on-one connection that is coming from the heart center. So let's just leave that out there while we get into our questions today. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here we go. All right, so my question relates to health. Do my guides show you whether I need another hip x-ray or scan? The right hip was replaced in June, and I have one spot that concerns me at times. And do they show you anything related to my right ankle where I've a site healing from skin cancer since September? Doctor said it would take a long time, both right leg. Interesting. Boy, that is interesting, huh? So for those of you looking at the energetic, aspects of the body, the right side of our body is represents the male energy, the male side of us. So that is the part that's always doing, the action oriented, just the action piece of us that's doing. And so when we have issues, say on that side of the body, it could mean we're overdoing. And let's just see what hers would say. Well, yeah, they're saying there's an element to that. They would guide you to slow down a little bit more. Hang on here. It does feel like there's more healing that needs to happen. Does look like it would be helpful to have the hip scanned again or an x-ray there just for reassurance. I'm not hearing that there's an adjustment or anything, but it might be some reassurance that you need. And then the skin cancer. I'm going to agree with your doctor on that one too. The guides are saying it will take a long time. Now, one thing you can do, and you could do this for your hip too, and so this applies to anybody with a health thing. They said, I'm going to do this for my teeth. I'm getting two crowns, y'all, right side by side, so I decided to do them together. They're old. But anyway, they're saying you can actually talk to that part of your body. And you probably already know that, but they just want to remind you, talk lovingly to where that skin cancer was, and talk lovingly to the skin that it's healing, and that, it alerted you to there being a problem there, and that you appreciate it healing. And don't be surprised. You can accelerate the healing process for your body. Same with the hip too. They said it really is that same simple concept as talking lovingly, to your pets, to your plants, to your loved ones, that your body will respond just as fast, and it will feel the sincerity. So now I'm kind of curious, if you do that and you're consistent with it, you're going to have to write in and let us know. Okay. Okay. All right, so I've got a few more questions here, you guys. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Hi, Betsy. Please, can you ask my team and your guides what is the one thing, the knowing of which would change everything for me? Thank you and many blessings. Wow, I don't think I've ever quite had a question like that. Let me see here. That's a big question. What is the one thing that could change everything? Okay. Let me see how the guides will answer this. So, what they're telling me to tell you, and they're going to elaborate a little bit because this is going to sound cliche, and they know how that's going to land. They are telling me to tell you that there's a sense of you that's still feeling very separate from them, separate from others, separate from your own divine wisdom, separate from your personal power, um, that just feels separate. And if they pointed to anything for you, they would allow you, or they would ask you to release that sense of separateness and begin to find the spiritual union. God, I love these cards. I just love how this works. And they're saying the biggest union is the one you have with yourself. And there's still a sense of consciously, you know, you're a spiritual being. Consciously, you know, you're connected to the divine. Consciously, you know, you have innate wisdom. And yet, subconsciously, there's still a divide. And so they said the ego is at the root of this. And while the ego is very necessary for us to be here, to be human, it creates our identity, does create that feeling of separateness. It makes you and I different. The ego still, if we are too rooted in it, it fosters a separateness in all things, from our heart, you know, from one another, from a connection to all. And in the ego, when the ego is dominant and we are living from that space, we are in our heads, we have fear, we worry, we have anxiety about things. We have mind loops that go round and round and round. And so they would have, if it's not just an answer to you, but to everybody, they would say befriend your ego and give it a break. And understand the ego's role is to allow you to be human. It's allow you to have your preferences and your desires. It is, you know, how you create your identity here on the planet. And let it be that, just that. And that's, I always like to say some of these things are really mastery level work. So, understanding the nature of the ego and taking it off its place of dominance would be the most helpful thing to any person on the planet, they said. So I'm glad you asked that question. Okay. All right. What is the reason for the drastic increase with all the children diagnosed as autistic or on the spectrum? Is it a new level of human evolution, poisoning from chemicals in the food, water, vaccines, and medication, or gene mutations? Perhaps misdiagnosis or something else? What can we learn from them and help them adapt? Okay. You know, it is natural for us humans to look for a cause to something because we are so conditioned to look for a solution to something. And in that, they said, we are looking at autism and those on the spectrum as something that's wrong that needs to be corrected. And the guides are saying that's not the case. There's nothing wrong with these individuals, and they are choosing to come in this way. There is kind of a wave of them coming because it's almost like a collective is showing up now on the planet because of that power in numbers, and because of the number of that is increasing, it's drawing more attention. But really, what's happening, what the guides are suggesting, is that the divine orchestration in that is for us to recognize these children as really gifted individuals, and where some of their senses have been maybe what we call hijacked, or they don't have an emotional regulation, or they don't even have bodily regulation in a lot of cases. Their other senses are through the roof, and that is something we're starting to discover more and more, and the guides are saying that is really on purpose. And so it has to happen in a mass amount in order to get the right attention, but the right people, so to speak, are starting to take notice and look. And they said the most important thing you could do is not necessarily to help them, because they're not here for that. They want you to know it's just like a say a nonverbal child. Um, can't communicate, maybe can't even demonstrate because they can't control their bodies. What the guides are saying is they're still in there. It's just like somebody in a coma, or somebody that's getting ready to transition out of this planet. They are still aware. They still hear everything. They still know what you're saying. They know what's going on around them, and oftentimes they know what's their sense of consciousness is unlike anybody else's, and they often know what's going on in other rooms, with other people in the family. So it's quite remarkable. I talked about this, I think sometime last year, the telepathy tapes, that podcast, and it's got a little controversy, but I guess all things do, that buck science. Yet there's some really scientific people and some really wonderful interviews. I highly recommend listening to. The first few, I would say, are pretty kind of, I don't even want to say basic, but if you get through the first maybe 6, I think, by the 7th one, man, it gets into this field of consciousness that these kids are accessing. And when I was first listening to these, I just remember going, that's it. That's exactly what I'm there. These kids are describing what I'm seeing, like what I'm accessing, how information comes to me. These children are just doing it. It's just how they communicate. And the second season second season is out now, and that's so funny. I just pulled it up this morning to start listening to. The first episode is about near-death experiences, and they interviewed that Dr. Eben Alexander, who's famous for his NDE. So I would highly recommend listening to that, and make sure you listen to all of them, like all of them, especially the first episode, because it really describes, I think, what is happening in the universe, what is happening with consciousness, what the potential is. I mean, I think we could all be communicating telepathically. I do. We just don't have, the muscles built for that, but these kids do. So if anything, I would say study them, learn from them, understand that they're here to demonstrate what we can do and what our brains are capable of. It's really remarkable. and to know that there's somebody in there. And so if you can even make that eye contact, or you can even mentally just say, I love you, they respond to that. The one thing that I love from listening to those tapes is they love the emphasis. They said, the only thing that matters here on the planet is love. And the listen to the podcast, because it's really powerful, and it will change you to listen to it. I'm so glad you asked that too. Okay. This is a cool question here. Is there a way we can see our parallel lives? Ooh, I like that. All right, let's see. Well, the guides are saying oftentimes when we dream, we are having parallel lives. And they said you'd be really surprised at our parallel lives and how similar they are to the one we're living, in the sense that what we desire in this lifetime, say our consciousness here, is this ego identity. A parallel life for us could be experiencing that desire having already been met. And so they said this happens by design so that we can tap into that feeling and create that here for us too. And remember that even in the parallel life, who we are in that is still creating other things. It's not like they're mirroring each other, but there's a lot of overlap. That's really interesting. All right, let's see here. So let me see if there's specific ways, though, that we can access parallel lives. Well, they said it would be like getting a past life regression. We just tend to call them past life regressions. You could always do an Akashic reading. You can explore this with your own guides. So say for example, no, this is them saying this, you have a relationship with someone in this lifetime that maybe ended or didn't go well or didn't have the outcome you wanted. And you would like to see if there's another lifetime that maybe you're living in harmony with that person. Just understanding that maybe you're more involved in this other, parallel life. And this one was more maybe about learning or studying something else that you wanted to experience. Maybe heartache, sometimes people want to, I know that sounds crazy, but we do want to understand all of the nuances of the human experience. So you can ask your guides, can I see a lifetime where I'm living in harmony with this person? And watch the vision show up. And in that, it's really great you asked this question too, because they said there's so much connectedness in all of this. When we can see a beautiful connection with someone harmonious in one say a parallel life. Okay, this is going to sound, even though to us it may feel like it's in our imagination, we're accessing that parallel life. We can influence the healing of it, the acceptance of it in this lifetime so that it softens. Gosh, that just seems like we could do a whole show on stuff like that. There's so much new information there for us to work with. That's it for now, though, on that one. Wow. Okay. Okay, I've got one more. Y'all, thank you for being patient here. Okay, I've recently learned that the secret book of John that was removed from the Bible has a conversation between John and Jesus, explaining the light that souls see after death. This was an intimate conversation limited to Jesus' inner circle. We've always been told to go towards the light after we die, but according to John's book, the light is a trap. Instead of taking us back to source, we have a life review and return to earth, life balance. Wait a minute. The light is a trap. Instead of taking us back to source, we have a life review and return to earth life to balance our karma. According to Jesus' interpretation, we should turn to the left path away from the light, and in this void we find the source and our soul is free to choose its next experience. Is this true that the light is a trap for souls? All right, let me make sure I understand that. The light is a trap. Okay. All right. Mm. I am hearing to say the light is not a trap. And there's a life review, absolutely a life review. There is a time to decide and create a new life here. So we are not stuck in this perpetual cycle of coming back because we have to. We come back because we want to. And so when we return to light, we are light beings. That's why they always say the light within. We come from that light. So when we transition, what we understand as source, what we understand as non-physical is light. And we it's like we just get poured right back into that light. And if you imagine, think of the ocean as God or the divine as the source of all things. And it's like if you took a cup and scooped water out of the ocean, in that cup is the essence of all that is. That cup is us. Say, the cup is our body, it's our containers. Does that make sense? And so we're really the same thing. So when our body dies, we're released back into that source. It's like the essence of us just becomes back into one with all. And we are conscious creators. And so we know that this planet is where everything happens. This is where the stage is. This is where all the characters are. The stories play out. This is where we have our feelings, and we can experience an embrace and a hug and someone holding our hand. It's like this. It's all here, and so we want to come back. And what we do is we look at this life review, one in particular we just had, and then we have full awareness of all the other lives we've had, and even the parallel lives going on. So just say our consciousness can handle it in that space. And so from that we decide, wow, what do I want to do this next lifetime? How do I want to change things? How do I want to spice things up? The reason we say we have to balance karma, it's to be understood that if I was an alcoholic in this lifetime, or my father was an alcoholic, say, in this lifetime, when I'm in this life review, I might say, you know what, I want to understand what my father went through, what made him an alcoholic, and I'm going to choose to be the alcoholic parent in the next lifetime. That's all we do. We're just trying to understand different points of view. And it's not because we have to pay off karmic debt or we're here, to right a wrong in some way. It's more because our soul evolves through its understanding. The more we experience, the more we understand, the wiser we become, the more we move to that, place of enlightenment. And that's really what that's about. And the only way to evolve, the only way to become wiser is to go through the experiences. Well, it's the strongest way. So when we're in spirit, say we haven't, reincarnated yet, we will still evolve by watching our loved ones here. um, we still watch what's going on. We choose when we want to come in. Um, so I'm not sure if that will answer your question, and I would invite you to follow up with that question if you want to on your next on the next call if you want, or if you're watching live, you are welcome to type in. Okay, hang on here. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, you guys. Let me see what we've got live today. Here we go. I want to make sure I don't skip over everybody. Okay. Do you see a move for me and my husband and in 2026? Let's see. I would say you're going to be close to it. Probably more towards the latter part of the year. If you're not moving by the end of the year, it looks like you'll know where you're going and that plan will be in motion. So I would say yes. The idea around it, the energy of it will show up next year. Okay. All right. What do the guides have to say about the trajectory of my business for 2026? I seem to feel I'm being redirected. Well, that's kind of curious if you feel like you're being redirected. That may be just a cause for pause there to really examine what that's about. And the guides would have you come really, 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 really clear on, is this business coming from your heart center? Is it coming from a place, like from the head, the ego, the ideas, or is it coming from that aligned mind and heart? So spend a little bit of time with that. You may just be invited to re-energize your mission behind your business, if that makes sense. And almost like remind yourself why you're in it. And that may be all that you need to get things to feel like they're in motion again. But I would say next year, 2026 for you is going to feel lighter. Like it's going to feel like you're moving in more of a positive, obvious direction with it. So, okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay. How do my guides want me to express my gifts and service? Okay. All right, let's see here. All right, Linda, let's look at that. Give me 1 second here. Is there something you want to change about what you're already doing? Do you feel like it's not working for you? So give me a little bit more of what you're looking at there as far as expressing your gifts and service, because you're already in a place of service. Might be putting more of the emotion code work out and really diving into all of that with the body code, the belief code, the emotion code, all of it. And I'm not sure if that's something you're already doing or if that expansion is something you've thought about. Let's see. Okay. Marketing, all of that. Yeah. I would say get comfortable really being seen and understand you have a value gift, to bring to the world. And it's important to not necessarily just give it away because you don't want to deplete yourself. And so I would say putting more exposure on your work and your business is going to be that next level of kind of healing, if that makes sense. To really know you're worth it and to attract the people that find the value in your work. Let's see here. So, yeah, marketing, promoting, personal business, things like that can always challenge a healer. Um, Yet it's necessary. It's like get out of the ego and know you're coming, from your light center, and you want to shine bright. You want people to you want to be available to help, but you got to shine that bright light to open up that attraction, if that makes sense. Hopefully that helps. Okay. All right, let me go back up here. Is there a specific purpose for my leg health issues, and were the coins at my feet on bed tied to this? Always been active and difficult to adjust to limitations now. Okay. All right, let me see here. Leg health, coins at the feet of my bed. Let me see. Now, we talked about that last time, right? It's interesting, your comment that you've always been active and it's difficult to adjust to limitations now. It is like trying to, um, you know what? We have to learn to adapt to be here. And it's so funny. I talked to a girl the other day, and I think she's 63, and she's really focused on being energized and have all this activity and da 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 like she used to, and she doesn't want to get another dog until she can meet the dog's energy. And her guides were like, well, that's not what 63 looks like for you. And you know you're not going to have all that energy like you used to have, and that's okay. And you have to quit expecting, that you're going to get back to that, because it's like, you're chasing this ghost that you're never going to catch. And I would say the same for you. It's like, oh, how can you be here and learn to love your life with these limitations? And it's almost like, gosh, if you had eyesight and all of a sudden you were, losing your eyesight, you know, there's nothing you can do about that in a lot of cases. And so how would you adjust? And I know that's extreme, but it's similar. And they're saying that you have a beautiful soul and a beautiful light and a way to manifest more than you can imagine. And you're used to manifesting through an active lifestyle. You're used to being here on the planet in this way. And so it's almost like you challenged yourself on a soul level to see what does life look like if I have to adjust that. And so again, instead of finding solutions to the health issues and I got to do this, this, and this, I'm hearing it's more about how can you find your joy and shine your light coming from these limitations? And I am hearing they're not always going to be there, but it is about a shift in how you're being here. And it's about embracing a different way and integrating it into your experience. So you might not all get back to that active like you were, but there's a different way to be active. And I'm hearing it's time to explore different ways to be active, different ways your body wants to be here, wants to move and operate. And there will be a blending. So it's kind of like swinging the pendulum one way, back the other way, and kind of settling in the middle somewhere, if that makes sense. That's big work. Thank you for asking that. Okay. All right, let's see here. Oh, so you have the same condition the president has, painful, severe circulation issues, and the coins were near the most problematic area of my leg. Let me see. I still get something around the coins with manifesting, though. Um, Let me see. I don't want to speculate. And just pull random things out around that. I would say take the information now that you're meant to be in this way for now. I'm hearing it's not permanent, it is temporary, that there is going to be a shift. But it is asking you to be with something. Um, be here in a different way at the moment. And I would say there are gifts to be had here. That's why the coins are there. It's like there are gifts to be had in this place of stillness, even in this pain. Gosh, you know what I saw? There's a YouTube person that does these wonderful meditations, and I haven't listened to this one today, but it said the title was "Is Your Pain a Portal?" And I thought, oh, I bet it is. And I would say that might be for you too. That's why the coins were there. That there is a gift for you to mine here from being with this pain, whatever it's showing you. I don't want to go too much into that, but I will tell you, if you know somebody that does the emotion code, and we've got somebody live on here today that does it, it's wonderful work for physical things going on in the body that you don't know what the root cause is, what emotion it's attached to, or memory, or thought form, or could be prenatal. It's a lot of things, but that could be something you're meant to be open to that work. You don't even have to have a memory of it, but the body code, emotion code work will go right there. And that's often why people turn to that work, is because they're having something going on in their body that they can't quite heal, or they don't know what that root cause is. And that work is really beautiful to help release it. Wow. Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay. And if you do have a lot going on, like you just typed in, yeah, you might just need to be off your feet right now and use this time to be present with yourself, your body, what's going on in your life, and see what um, adaptations you need to make. Wow. All right, you guys, I'm going to draw one more card from the Psychic Tarot. I like to do our little bookend cards. So we got the Spiritual Union one at the beginning. Let's see here. Man, we're on to something today. This one is the Crown Chakra. Partnerships and alliances. So there's really something about partnerships today, about union today. And isn't that just something, as we go off into the weekend and we go off into the holidays, where we're probably going to be around a lot of people, maybe not, but even in that, looking at, the partnership we have with ourselves, with that inner child we talked about, with the divine within us, with the divine outside of us. Man, if anything the guides could emphasize is you are divine, you are a divine creator, you are part of this whole divine. And if you could see how divine you are, if you could look at yourself and see that cup of water from the ocean and realize you are the exact same thing, your life could shift when you really begin to realize how incredibly divine you are and how a part of the whole you are. There's no separation. your body is just a container. Your ego is just a boundary to kind of force that separation. So bust through that ego and really feel your oneness and feel your ability to create. And they are saying there's just so much joy in love. And we have these human conditions because we want to become more enlightened. And sometimes we pack some really hard stuff into our lifetimes. And you can look at those lifetimes as one you're leapfrogging up the enlightenment chain, so to speak, because you're really understanding a lot. So they love being here. They love connecting with you. They love the questions. They love that you continually seek. They love that you believe. They love that you share your stories and your energy. And they are so eager to continue supporting you in whichever way, however they can guide, however they can answer. So next week is, is it Christmas? What is next Friday? I think I'm going to be here. I'll have to look at the dates. Here. Oh wait, I gotta hang on, y'all, before we get off. Okay, we might have to follow up on that one. Let me see here. The question about light, and the source, the path, left or right. That might be something. Let's follow up with that one next week. So it is the 26th. It will be. I will be here. So if y'all are around, I'd love for you to join me. Again, send your questions in via email if you can. And remember, when you send in a question, try and make it a little specific instead of what message do the guides have for me today. In a format like this, I'm going to go for the specific questions because they're so helpful to everybody joining in. And again, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me share this work. Y'all have a wonderful holiday, whatever you find yourself doing, and I will see you next Friday. Okay, thanks. Bye.